What's going on, guys? This is Frank Hatzis, and you're in Rope Dart School. Welcome to Rope Dart School, where we talk to dartists from across the world who are making massive changes and a positive impact in the rope dart community. My goal with this show is to introduce you, dear listeners, to these dartists, hear what they're doing, so that you too can become a living rope dart legend. Okay, I am so excited for this dartist today. This next guest is actually from Long Island, which is where I'm from. We both went to Nassau Community College for a couple of years, but we'll get into that. Although he's been living in Delaware for the past 21-ish years. He has been rope darting for 10 plus years and brings a definite alluring martial arts approach to his rope dart flow. He's trained in the traditional Shotokan karate for about 6 years, and he enjoys other traditional Japanese weapons like the sai, the tonfa, and other traditional Chinese weapons, three-section staff, chain whip, things like that. So very well-rounded with weapons. He is a Rope Dart Academy instructor, as well as a Philly Flow Academy instructor, and he is the current national rope dart accuracy champion. The champ is here, ladies and gentlemen. Today, this man combines rope dart tech in ways that for this generation are truly evolutionary. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Nathaniel Isler.
Hey everyone. All right.
Welcome to Rope Dart School, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, pretty good today.
For sure. We have a beautiful day on the East Coast today. I don't know if you've been outside at all, but man, at least in Brooklyn, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I was a little bit ago, a couple hours ago. Here, I was thinking it was supposed to rain at some point, but thankfully it's not because I do want to get some practice in today.
Of course you do. And that's actually where I want to start, which is where I start the show all the time. And that is what got you into rope dart?
Well, what got me into rope dart, because my background in martial arts is in Shotokan karate, although I never completed training since moving here to Delaware. So I said to myself a long time ago, I wanted to learn some type of martial arts weapon. And then I'm surfing on YouTube, and then I came across rope dart. I didn't know that's what it was called at the time, but I knew where I seen it because any early martial arts films that you may have caught from Jet Li, or if you're into gaming like Mortal Kombat, the character Scorpion with the whole "get over here." So for the longest time, I didn't know that that's what that was called. But then I came across your content and other prominent rope dart figures in the space, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." So I was like, let me see how I can get into this. And then slowly throughout, I've been, picking it up and trying to learn the moves, the basic techniques, and then just been building my skill set ever since.
For sure, you've definitely been building that skill set because as someone that's been following you for years, I've got to witness the building of that skill set. And it's like I said in the introduction, it's evolutionary. And we're going to get into why that is. I just want to circle back to what you said about, Scorpion and Mortal Kombat. And I really like that. It's a very easy entrance for folks that have never heard of rope dart, and you're shaking your head agreeing. For anyone out there that is not sure of how to, broach the subject with someone, I always go right to Scorpion, Mortal Kombat, and the whole get over here, because that makes a connection so fast for folks who have never knew what was a thing, much like Nathaniel.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it pretty much all the time whenever I'm out at the park practicing. People will ask me what that is, and then the easiest point of reference I could bring up would be Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. And then even I would sometimes bring up Kill Bill, the scene from the Kill Bill movie, uh, as most would they'll know what it is when I start explaining it to them. And that's usually how I approach explaining what rope dart is to those onlookers for the first time.
For sure. Kill Bill is, oh, and Gogo Yabari is obviously what you're referring to, is the immediate second go to when trying to explain the rope dart to someone that's never really heard about it before. Today, I have a feeling that we're going to be or I should say that this show is going to be heard by folks who do rope dart. So, jumping really hard on the rope dart wagon, if you will, you've been combining some super cool tech. So, let me back up for a second. You are, when I think of you, I think of a martial arts style rope dartist. I mean, I think that would be a pretty fair statement. But you mix in flow techniques with the martial style, but you also do it with a traditional live rope dart, like a traditional conical, metal or meteor hammer style rope dart. Lately, you've been putting styles together from Adam Bush and Aaron Stanger, which I mean, honestly, I have too. Who hasn't? What is what is going on there? Do you find that there are any challenges shifting from a martial feel to a flow feel in regular flow? If I could unpack that a little bit more if it came out weird, but what's the thought process behind it? Because I know when I mix martial and flow, I'm using a cobra dart. I'm not, sometimes I use a traditional dart, but not much anymore. But you do. So tell us about that.
Yeah, as I'm in the middle of my flow sessions, as I am thinking to myself, what move can I string in after like a shot or something like that? Something to do seamless. Um, for the real difficult stuff, I actually still use the Cobra Dart for like some, and just recently, as you mentioned, with the I believe it's Fei Hung Shed's horizontal. I was practicing that first. I started to do the metal dart, but I was like, wait, I don't have enough line for this necessarily. So let me backtrack and use the Cobra. But then once I got comfortable enough, I was like, okay, it's pretty familiar to me. And then I just switched back. And then, yeah, whenever I'm flowing, I'm just trying to think of what move can I get to next, based off of what I've already done that, that could just move into it seamlessly enough, just to keep the flow going. And I usually when I do this, I'm listening to music as I'm flowing, and I think of certain moves to hit during certain segments of a song. If that makes sense. Like something I would think like that would be cool, and I would just like go into it, and then I would just kind of see how it plays out from there.
For sure. Now, we're similar in age. You're younger than I am, but we're close enough that I actually wanted to ask you what got you into martial arts? Just staying on the martial arts topic for a little bit longer. What got you into martial arts?
I grew up watching things such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power
Boom.
Rangers,
There it
uh,
is. Okay.
yeah, all of that. Yeah. So in the yeah, so elementary school, middle school, that's where my Shotokan karate journey began. Um, I forget where, I think Freeport, that's where I went to school at. Um, they did, the sensei at the time did a demonstration at school we were at. So that was like, okay, that got me really interested and excited and wanted to learn that. So then I just been starting with Shotokan, uh, ended at green belt, which was like three ranks from black had I continued. But then, yeah, um, I just like learning the disciplinary aspects of it as well as, learning self-defense, because you never know when, hopefully you won't need to use it, but at least should that happen, at least you won't be completely in the dark.
For sure. And, it really is, it seems to be our generation that was influenced most, not by Bruce Lee or even the Karate Kid. We were really the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle generation when it came to practicing martial arts. Which one were you? Because we all picked one, right? Which one were you?
I may well actually too, but Donatello was my go-to, and then Raphael being the second. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be. I was Michelangelo. I guess I shouldn't be surprised with the Raphael because you play around. And I'm saying play not as an. I don't mean that derogatorily. I just mean it. You move around with the size a lot, and that's not something that you see too often, even in tournaments. Is Raphael the what really sparked your interest in the size?
One of them, yes, and it is also one of the weapons that you do learn through the Shotokan style. I'm not sure which rank of brown belt. So because normally you don't train with weapons until you're at least a brown belt. Starting with the bow, I do know that, and then from there, you'll either learn Sai, the Tonfa, which is also part of that as well. And there actually is one for nunchaku, which I wasn't aware of. Um, but yeah, you learn all of those weapons from the Shotokan style.
That's super cool. So, you know what? I didn't even know we were going to go here, but let's go here real quick. In the martial arts world, we're both martial artists. When you look at traditional schools, a lot of times you'll find that Sifus will, quote, hold the rope dart back from students or say you need to know a certain amount of weapons before learning the rope dart. How do you feel about that?
And that's interesting because it's not something I necessarily thought of originally because I would initially think that okay, you have to reach this point before you're disciplined enough to handle a weapon. But at the same time, if you're responsible enough to, at least start learning it for yourself just to get familiar with it, you should be able to really start at any point. You don't necessarily have to wait until you're here when you're coming from back here. At the very least, get your hands on a practice one that's, as a start, and then just kind of work your way up from there, until you're ready to handle the actual real thing.
Yeah. I think that a good Sifu or sensei or master would be able to look at a student and find what would probably work best in their hands and, maybe not worry about it so hierarchical. And I get, look, starting with a staff is probably a really good move in a martial arts setting. It's, everywhere. It's easy to make shift and, it's difficult to learn but easy to do kind of a thing. It makes me think of there's some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Master Splinter theory. Have you ever heard of this where Master Splinter gave each of the turtles a specific weapon based on their personality?
I did hear something about that. I never thought about that before until I heard it. It was interesting. It's not something it just came out of nowhere, but it sort of made sense, I guess. Like using Donatello, for example, his mind's complex, scientific, but you give him a staff, a stick, which is straight. You're just
Right.
going in a straight line, you know. And in Michelangelo's case, because he's party one of the group, the least serious one of the group, his mind's over the place. But you give him a weapon that swings around that's akin to his personality, uh,
Yeah. It's
and
basically
then
like the a fidget spinner, but the weapon version of a fidget spinner from
yeah.
Michelangelo. Yeah.
Mm.
So, when I heard that, I found it pretty intriguing. I mean, I couldn't it's hard to disagree with that theory, in my opinion. When you think of the four turtles and the rationale between behind the weapons, I I agreed with it when I first heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was like, "Oh, I never actually thought about that before until I seen it on a clip somewhere where they were breaking down reasons why which turtle has what weapon.
For sure. Now, clearly the weapon you should have is a rope dart because you are the current. Look, there's one place that's happening where we have a national contest in dart accuracy. That's at Dart Arts. So if what I'm about to say irks you a little bit, then you need to get to Dart Arts and prove that you're better than Nathaniel. Because at Dart Arts, we do have an accuracy challenge, which is a long event. You go through many, many other dartists who are as good as you, and it's no joke. And Nathaniel is our current champion right now. So, will you be? Well, I have a lot of questions to ask, but let's get to the most important, just because the most selfish reason, because I want to see you. Will you be attending Dart Arts this year?
I will, yeah, Lord willing, I'm gonna make it out there for sure.
Okay, perfect. And the other thing, so now we can geek out. The other thing is you being, look, the recognized, undisputed accuracy champ. That is a real title. Everyone listening, no joke. How did you? I mean, I've seen you train in accuracy. You've posted some videos. You are very accurate with a rope dart, but as you and I know, we film and it takes quite a few times to hit that thing, and we post the time we hit it. We get that. And obviously, over time, you get better and better and better, and it's less and less takes you got to do. Other than pure sweat and grit, is there any other thing you did to practice and ready yourself for the dart accuracy battles? Let me tell you something, Nathaniel Isler. I'm coming for you this year.
Yeah, I'll be right there. I'll be right there and waiting. Um, but yeah, when it comes to accuracy, even in the beginning, as I was practicing on my own for the first time, I would like practice on a tree to see if I can keep the grouping. I'm using archery term. If keeping the groupings close together as to where you hit, you know, when it comes to like your shots, like the elbow shots, smash shots, even anything involving the feet. I'll try to get it as close to the mark as you can, and then and I expanded doing that since then. I've done a video where I smashed clay pots, had one dangling off a tree just to see, okay, can I hit this during X conditions, like if it's windy or something like that. Um, and then I have a stand, like I built a stand similar to what instructor Benzie has done. I would just like knock like bottles, see if I could hit it, you know. Using it, keeping it I would say using the most basic techniques efficiently, because I'm trying to be efficient with what I'm trying to do. You know, quick and not to say quick, but try to be as efficient as you can when it comes to the target practice side of things.
Absolutely. Now, just only because you mentioned him, Instructor Bensei is a friend of, good friend of both yours and mine. You guys, I think, were finalists for the Dart Battles as well. Is that right?
That
But
is correct.
but
Uh,
he took that, or did you take that?
I ended up taking that to
You
my
did take
surprise.
that too. You took
Yeah,
that, dude. What? Okay. So we have the Dart Battles champion, and again, look, if you have a problem with that, you come to Dart Arts and prove it. So we have the Dart Battles champion and the Dart Accuracy champion, and he's dropping knowledge bombs on how to train. You know what got him to where he is now. I'm going to go into something. Let's get deep real quick because you and I both know that you can train hitting a target over and over and over and over and over again, and that's good. But where do you think the mental element comes into play, or do you think it comes in at all?
definitely does because you have to think about it's easy to hit something when it's standing still, not moving. But then when you got to think about, okay, what if they happen to just shift directions? Now you got to like compensate with your movements to match theirs in order to you know in order to hit where they're going to be. As I'm doing the dart battles, I'm like, okay, here we are inside this space. We're both moving around, trying not to get hit. So I'm trying to like think of ways to like kind of fake and juke, just to be accurate enough to get the shot off and recover quickly enough to be ready for another one. Because of course, while you're attacking, they're looking to attack you as well, especially with long range weapons like rope dart. So you got to be on your toes at all times,
For
because you
sure.
never know what could happen.
For sure. Let me rephrase my question. What I mean with regard to the mental aspect of it, I guess I'm leaning more towards a inner confidence and an inner self-esteem that is I don't think you could go into anything, much less a battle with rope darts, thinking that you stink and are going to lose. I'm not saying to be arrogant or cocky, but I would think that, and I think it's a good thing, but I would think that you went into those contests thinking, I'm the man. Like I'm gonna go do this. I practiced hard. The rope dart loves me. I love the rope dart. I can do this. That's a little bit more what I meant, and maybe it didn't touch you at all. I don't know. What if you could speak on that? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
From that aspect, as I was going into it, I was thinking to myself, just use what works, you know, because you've been training a certain way for so long when it comes to accuracy. You just want to be as efficient as you can. Um, although all the fancy movements and stuff that one would often do, but then when it comes to a target in front of you, you just want to make sure you're mentally zoned in. I don't want to say tunnel vision necessarily, but it kind of feels that way. Like nothing else, kind of block out everything else that's around you and just like stick with your objective that's in front of you. And that is to reach your target, and to, you just want to be as efficient and clean with it as you can. But that's how I initially approached it going into it because I never was up until dart battles. um, up until our arts. I never heard of dart battles as a thing because I was like out in the West Coast, I believe. And then they brought it here. I was like, okay, that looks pretty interesting and fun, and it's a good way to expand on, you know, on what I could do.
Yeah, it definitely started out in the West Coast by a gentleman named Xander Paris, and it has a real following in San Diego. They do dart battles like every Tuesday. Up in San Francisco, they do it quite often as well. I mean, it really, it's happening at fire festivals now. They're setting up dart battle games. We do it at dart arts. It's the sport behind rope dart because you have this is like a pet peeve of mine, but I am correct here. A lot of times folks misuse the word sport. Like they might look at what we do with rope dart, wushu routines, and look at it as sport, and it really isn't. It's more of a game. A sport, you need an opposing side. It needs to be point based, and that opposing side has to have the same opportunities you have to gain points, and you also must be able to stop each other from gaining points. And rope dart doesn't fit into any of that. But it's something most folks, it's not the Olympic sports, it's the Olympic games, because the majority of events in the Olympics are in fact not sports, they're games. Just a little I don't know, phys ed teacher used to be, I don't know, nonsensical stuff. One thing I want to ask you, which I think a lot of folks might be interested to know, just because it's definitely a part of your, like who you are as a rope artist, and even beyond that as a person. Your name, Third Gen Isler, which of course I would think is third generation Isler. Can you
That's
give us
correct.
a, say it again?
That is correct. That is why I went with that because I am the third that bears this name. So I wanted to use that, as part of my, I guess, branding identity, if you will. And that came up with that third gen Eisler from my IG or NI3. So my first, last, and then suffix. So that's how I came up with that.
For sure. Now, have I been saying your last name wrong this whole time? Is it Eisler?
Uh, well, some people call it Isla, but is I know whenever I'm down south North Carolina, everyone calls it says it Isler. I mean, that's why I go by.
All right. Well, I'm from the north, so what should I say?
No, yeah, Isler's fine. Isler's fine. Yeah.
Eisler's fine. Okay, I won't make that mistake again. And right, you were also saying NI3, and I think your website is ni3ropedart.com. For anyone listening, you should check out NI, the letters NI, then the number three, and then the word ropedart.com. Gives you a little bit of Nathaniel's background story. It also tells you how you can book lessons and workshops and classes with him. I'm telling you right now, he's a great instructor. He wouldn't be a Rope Dart Academy instructor if he wasn't. So definitely check him out, hit him up. He also does, uh, I'm about to say internet lessons. I'm losing my train of thought, but virtual lessons is what I mean to say. Um, Now, with regard to teaching, are you teaching anywhere anytime soon coming up, or what does your teaching plans look like?
There are some things in the works that are happening. Could be as soon as this summer. I know there's interest in Philly, and then people around here where I'm at, they're seeing what I'm doing. So, and I'm letting them know about on the NI3 Rip Art website. I have a couple of car magnets. Recently, just got a sign, one of those go-on signs. So now I'm starting to make an attempt to bring that with me wherever I go. So whenever I'm practicing, people can see.
For sure. I mean, that's what I love. You are an avid roped artist, and you go to where folks are, and you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, where you're getting your own practice in, and you're kind of putting up a rope dart flag and showing everybody, hey, I'm here. This is the thing. I can do it. You can do it. We can all can do it.
Yeah,
Or am I
yeah, and then
speculating? That's what I think you're doing.
no, you're absolutely right. Because yeah, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I want to be able to bring something with me so that people can actually see what it is. In the case of my sign recently. I have a little bit of details all about benefits. I think I wrote seven of them, seven benefits of rope dart, and then QR code link into my site. And then I actually did a parody version of my logo of the NI3 rope dart logo. Did the old school Mortal Kombat color theme for that. Just as a way of, okay, people see it, they'll instantly think Mortal Kombat. Then you know,
For sure. Yeah, I remember seeing that. It's kind of, it looks like a flyer where you have these seven benefits of rope dart with a rope dart next to it. I would love to share that if that's cool, just as something like ongoing on Rope Dart Academy, just because I mean you hit the nail on the head with all of those benefits. I mean there's even more, but rope dart for me is something that I think everybody should do, and I also believe everybody could do. So, a big goal of mine personally is to make it seem a little bit more ubiquitous, something more like, hey, look, it doesn't matter if you're a martial artist or a dancer or it doesn't matter. This is for you. Enjoy it. There's a wealth of knowledge, there's a wealth of great instructors like Nathaniel. Just get into it. Shut up and rope dart. Like that's where I'm at with it.
yeah, anyone could do it. I mean, it's just like when just anyone could shoot a. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I don't know if posting this on YouTube, but anyone with firearms doesn't make you necessarily a marksman. You don't have to be a marksman to use the
Yeah,
firearm. So therefore you don't have to be a martial artist necessarily to use a rope dart. So anyone can use it. Um, that's how I've been thinking about it. And if I had to explain that to someone, that's what I would probably bring up if they were to ask, could I learn this?
for sure. And it's funny. It's kind of like this double-edged thing where somebody watching someone like you rope darting might be a little bit intimidated just because of your skill level. A lot of times folks see the rope dart, and if it appears so far out of their ability to understand, they might think like that's that dude is so cool, man. Good on him, but I could never do that. And I I'm always gonna. I encourage everybody just to keep getting better at rope dart and to keep your practice up. It's just some food for thought that I think of sometimes is how do you go out at a park showing everybody the rope dart and at the same time not be so great as you are at it, Nathaniel, where they don't think that they can't do it. And it's like this kind of weird double-edged sword, and maybe I'm just going off on a weird rope dart rant in my head. What makes me say it is because not only do you, this is really cool for everybody watching, check out this video Nathaniel posted a couple of weeks ago, if even that. So we said earlier that Nathaniel will put together different rope dartists styles, right? Awesome. What he also does is he puts different weapons techniques together with a rope dart. So something that really sparked my interest is Nathaniel does a technique. It's a traditional Sanjiguan or three-section staff technique called Little Black Dragon Swings Its Tail. And that's where you're doing are you familiar with that technique? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do that with a rope dart, man. Like what's up with that?
And that's funny because, well, it's actually because I actually just recently started learning the three-section staff on my own. Because I've had a practice one for years, but then recently I just acquired a fire version, so now I'm starting to use that. So now I'm learning that, and as I'm doing the rope dart, okay, I'm spinning it. I gotta give the tail end something to do, and then I was like, okay, as I'm doing the technique, okay, that actually, to my surprise, it was working out. As long as I make sure that the tail end and the dart end don't collide with each other.
For sure. Are there any other? Because that was honestly one of the more impressive things I've seen. I mean, first off, nobody's really combining different weapon techniques into rope dart that like other than chain whip, but that's easy. Any anything else you're doing with that where you have this? I mean, I never would have thought, and you make it look so natural when you do it, but I never would have thought the little black dragon whips its tail technique as applied to rope dart would be a thing. Any other techniques like that?
The only other thing I could think of, well, at least in that ballpark, would be with the flowering techniques I've been sometimes be doing. Because again, I'm thinking to myself, okay, as I'm idle in the home position, I got all this extra slack that I'm not doing anything with. So like thinking to myself, what can I do with this to incorporate in some type of technique? And then I just started doing the weaving, and then I was able to make a strike out of it. Or if I did it in reverse, I can then do the one of the elbow shots, the dark ones where you spin out of it. So yeah, those are just some things I was playing around with as I'm in practice. I'm thinking, okay, what can I do with this? Um, you know, and trying to make it as seamless as I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly looks seamless. It's just, your techniques are very memorable because they do have a wow factor a lot of the time. And one thing that I certainly like I appreciated a lot was I think you were the first, I mean, that I know of, the first dartist to do the rope dart routine number 3 by Li Xingdong from Wushu Rope Dart, and post a video about it. And that just like, I don't know, made my rope dart heart sing. Uh, how did you feel while going through that form and learning it? What any challenges? I'm sure there were any, eureka moments.
Yeah, as I was trying to follow along with the images through the book, as I was trying to put the moves together, the whole time I'm thinking to myself, am I doing this correctly? Especially when it came down to the line Phoenix nods head 3 times. Um, that setup was different than what I'm normally used to doing. Like you would send a dart out while it's out, get it behind your head, and then you get right into the move from there. So that was different. And then the one sequence towards the end, where you're posing in the stance, I was trying to figure out how to get to that point where the dart is lined up, and then right before you're throwing in the release. Um, but yeah, as far as the entire routine itself, yeah, that was different because I had never seen one performed, and then yeah, and then I was just thinking, okay, let me see if I can do this, see how it looks, and then yeah, hopefully I got it down packed. And of course, I'll still continue to practice it, just get better at it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, every now and again, I'll practice that. I need to get out more with my traditional dart and just go through form and routine because I'm one of those weird, but I guess you probably are too. But I like drilling things. Do you like I have no problem. I'll drill the same technique 100 times, 1,000 times. It doesn't really, I don't get that bored with it when I do that. Do you find the same thing?
Not bored at all. That fact, that's probably one of the main things I do when I practice. I'll just drill certain techniques like elbow shots in particular or kicks branch. Um, you know, just practicing shooting it out and then retrieving it as quickly as I can to be ready to fire off the next one. Just keep practicing, keep practicing.
Yeah.
It never gets boring.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't ever get boring. And also, I'm similar with that, where I like practicing what, for you or myself might be a basic skill set of just constant shots. But the speed with which you could do those shots, the variety, can you hit like low, medium, high deliberately when you want to? I like those sessions where I'm just kind of doing shots most of the time, just because you're also not only are you training shots, but what goes hand in hand with shots is you're training your retrievals, which, for dartists out there, that's like one of the most common places where a mishap happens is just in the retrieval. Like you don't pull hard enough, or you don't have a strong enough grip. You don't realize that the speed of the dart kind of makes it feel heavier and you have to grip it a little bit tighter. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely when doing the shots, once it's out there, you got to think, okay, you have a very limited window of time to bring it in towards you safely, and in order to recover, um, especially when you're firing it off fast, because now you got to kind of have to think as fast as you're shooting it. Um, it's when you're doing it slow, because starting off slow, it helps you with the muscle memory. on how to retrieve it efficiently enough as the rope slides. You got to make sure you're not gripping it too hard. You got to get used to the rope sliding across your hand to make that retrieval process that much more smoother. Um, but yeah, definitely when even with foot, same with the foot shots, even uh, once it's out there, you just got to be ready to retrieve, as quickly as you can, and if without hurting yourself, obviously. But yeah, because
For sure.
yeah,
For sure. Stepping away from rope dart just a little bit because it's actually how we met. You are into Marvel and comics and like Comic Con and all that stuff, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I attended, I think, at least three or about four Comic Cons in New York. This is before COVID happened. Um, yeah, I like going to conventions like that. It's pretty fun.
for sure, that's actually we first met because you were coming up to New York for the NYC Comic Con, and we were actually at Old Dart House up in North Brooklyn. We're in South Brooklyn now. Uh, and you were just like, "Hey, what are you doing? Can I come by?" It's like, "Hey, yeah, man, what? Like, we got to do this." And you also you took the 101 to 103 class with me down in Philly years ago. I don't know what happened first. Did we meet there first, or did you come to my house first? I don't remember.
It was definitely there first because the second I caught wind that you were teaching in Philly, I was like, okay, this would be a great opportunity to meet you in person. So I was thinking to myself, regardless of the skill set I was at the time, I was like, let me go and learn something in person. Because up until meeting you, I've never had any in-person instruction because I just been watching, uh, YouTube videos and also your DVD here.
Ha! Oh, wow. That's old
Yeah,
school, man. Yeah. We don't even have
yeah,
the DVD anymore, but you can get it on ropedarts.com and our online training courses as downloads. So that's always good. But yeah, I guess, that's the world we live in now. Stuff is just going away, not coming back. I don't know.
yeah.
You don't know how technology is going to change your life, and you really don't have a say in it either. It's a little bit scary sometimes, but we'll hold on. We're rope artists. We're strong
We'll pull through. Yeah.
for sure. Um, do you have a message for rope dartists? You've been rope darting now for a little bit more than 10 years, technically. And, you know, I've personally seen the growth. Others have seen the growth. When you come to, when we all get together, it's always a great time. So, the reason Rope Dart School exists, why we have dartists like you is because I want rope dartists out there to know how you could be more like Nathaniel. So, do you have a message for dartists out there to, help them in life, in rope dart, in love, in anything?
What I would say to anyone that's looking to get into rope dart is definitely you definitely start somewhere. Don't get in your own way. Like don't let your fear of getting clobbered with the weapon, injuring yourself, hinder you from wanting to proceed further with wanting to learn. Um, I'm no exception to this. I mean, in the beginning, you will probably hurt yourself to some degree, but if anything, it teaches you. This way you'll learn not to do a certain thing or even something as simple as breaking concentration. Because when you're doing rope dart, your concentration's dialed up, because the second you break concentration, you'll end up missing a move or you'll end up misfiring something. But it will definitely teach you how to be focused in what you're doing, you know, stay focused in what you're doing, and then you'll achieve your task.
100%. And if you could rope dart um, with anyone for a weekend, say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, anywhere in the world, they could be living or not living or anything like that, who would that dartist be and why?
Good question, considering a lot of people who have been watching over the years have met at dart hearts. But I definitely was thinking what immediately came to mind. I guess probably instructor Benzie for like anything close quarters related. So that I think I saw that as one of the lineup of the classes for this year's Dart Arts, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, okay, that looks It's pretty interesting. So I'm like, okay, that would be fun to learn what to do in the event if you're not able to, let's say if you're in a tight quarters or something like that, to be able to utilize that skill set as well.
For sure. That's a great answer. And not only is Instructor Bensei teaching a combatives class, but Scott Britt, who wrote the book on Shuriken, is also teaching a combatives class. And even better, they're working together to coordinate it where, you're going to get one set of skills in Scott's class and another set of skills in Ben's class. And I just love seeing the meeting of the mind with everyone. And I'm telling you, look, if you're listening and watching and you're not going to dart arts and you're a rope dartist, I don't know what the heck you're doing in October. That's you think is better, but it isn't. You go to dart arts, learn from folks that are collaborating in such amazing ways to help expand the art. It's just a beautiful thing.
Back when you were competing, for the routine that you were doing, was that something you came up with on your own, or was that taught to you?
So it depends on which routine you mean. Because if I competed in a NASCAR tournament, you could compete up to a few different times if you did different forms. So the short answer to your question is one of the forms I competed with was the I in wushu rope dart I allude to this like speculative fifth form, if you remember that part of the book. So
Yeah.
I used to compete with that, and then over the years I did add some. I didn't necessarily take anything out, but I did add some things towards the end of it. But the other form I did for, say, a creative weapons division, I made it up. They call that in traditional wushu, they call it optional, where it's a form that you put, which it doesn't make sense when you hear it as somebody that speaks English. Optional doesn't sound like that. But in wushu, optional means that you put a form together. You took, say, Shotokan karate techniques and you made a kata out of those techniques, but it's not a traditional Shotokan kata.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Anything else?
Um, no, but for everyone, join this year's Dart Arts. I'll be there. I'm looking to hopefully get another one of these with me.
Oh, the man. There it is. The champ is here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you nerding out with you. So and of course you're always welcome at Dart House before then, always.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, for everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. A lot of great information. As always, peace, love, Dart life.
All right.